I've always thought vegans as outspoken and oversensitive, caring more for animals than humans, whilst being too small to make an actual impact on the meat industry. One day I realized I hadn't even talked to, let alone met a vegan. So why had I seen vegans that way? The question stuck with me, and I had to find out why. Surprisingly, there's a decent amount of research into anti-vegan bias. At the end of this, I hope that you, like me, will have learned something new about the world around us. Let's confirm that people do actually dislike vegans. In 2014, an American survey showed that vegans were more disliked than several other minorities. The very motivations of being vegan were viewed differently. Animal ethics vegans were the most disliked, followed by environmental vegans. Health vegans had the most acceptance. The survey is supported by media analysis papers from the US, UK, and Australia. They were not exactly portrayed in a positive light, reflecting how people saw them. Vegans were seen as a joke, not something you take seriously, while also being portrayed as radical, overly emotional terrorists. There was a focus on the supposed health effects of veganism. Articles showed them wasting away, weak and malnourished, while their children starved to death. Similar views can be seen on social media, with the exception of vegan spaces. They're seen as intolerant misanthropes who harass and control people, fueled entirely by emotion, while being self-righteous hypocrites. They are dehumanized as mentally ill and stupid, living short, painful lives due to their deficient diet. I think that's enough to confirm that people do not like vegans. Let's go into the reasons why. It's important for our self-esteem to see ourselves as good people. Feeling immoral hurts, and we try to avoid feeling that way. By choosing to avoid meat for moral reasons, vegans show that they see eating meat as morally wrong. This leads to people feeling morally judged for eating meat, even before vegans can say anything. Vegans also tend to feel disgust towards meat, because they don't separate the meat from the animal it came from. Disgust is heavily associated with immorality, and vegans' disgust at meat can be seen as judging people as immoral. There's also increasing awareness of how cruel meat production is, along with its impact on the environment. This can make people feel guilty for buying meat. We tend to compare ourselves with people around us to gauge how good we are at something. Being vegan is seen as difficult, needing strong willpower and self-control. People who are insecure in their self-control can feel insufficient when comparing themselves to the image of a vegan. To protect their self-worth from guilt or insecurity, people might devalue vegans by insulting or discrediting them. This makes perceived judgment seem weaker and the comparison less damaging. We tend to group ourselves and the people around us into categories. A single person will belong to many categories, with each one having different importance to each of us. For example, I'm an Asian woman living in New Zealand who enjoys cooking. These categories are known as groups. In-groups are the ones you identify with, and out-groups are the ones you don't. They are tied to your identity and affect how you see the world and the people around you. They also affect your self-worth and provide a sense of belonging. People are thus motivated to see their groups as unique and better than other groups. They also tend to prefer members of their own group and see them more positively. Vegans and omnivores represent different groups and are seen as conflicting. This creates tension between them which can make some people dislike vegans. We need criticism to improve, but with how hostile people can be, it can be hard to tell if feedback is constructive. People often question critique from outgroups, since they can't tell why they're being criticized. Whether it's a legitimate concern or just an insult. They tend to respond to it by becoming defensive, and might end up with a worse opinion of the outgroup. Dietary advice from vegans, or talking about the benefits of veganism, can be seen as a form of criticism, which in turn makes people see vegans worse. We tend to generalize, using individual people to form pictures of their entire group. Alternatively, assuming that every member of a group must universally agree with the group. It's human and makes it easier for us to make decisions in the future. Groups that are seen as threatening are seen as homogeneous and hostile. This applies to vegans, who are a diverse group with many different motivations and beliefs. Coming into contact with a rude or hostile vegan might result in someone seeing all vegans that way. Vegans are people, and people are capable of being pretty terrible sometimes. That doesn't mean all vegans are terrible people. Adding on, groups representing vegans aren't often talked about in media. Vegans peacefully existing while trying to lower their carbon intake isn't exactly newsworthy. What news outlets pick up on are shocking publicity stunts and strikes. This can make people see vegans as attention-seeking and disruptive. We like feeling free to choose. I don't think anyone likes being told what to do. Reactance is a reaction to feeling like your ability to do something is being taken away. It can be triggered by rules, advice, or even feeling guilt or concern. Essentially, anything that makes it harder for us to do something we want to do. Reactance causes anger, irritation, and a strong motivation to take back that choice. People react by liking the choice more, dismissing the threat, or aggressively resisting it. These make people see the threat worse. Reactance can even make people do the opposite of what they're told. It's how reverse psychology works. These re-establish a feeling of control, a feeling that we have the freedom to choose what we want to do. Increasing awareness of the health effects of meat, combined with ethical concerns, have been making it harder to justify eating meat, something which vegans are a reminder of. Since reactance can be triggered by how we feel, vegans don't have to say anything to cause it. It can even be triggered by media talking about vegans, such as news or social media. Especially since vegans are often portrayed as trying to forcefully take away your meat. Reactance makes people irritated and angry towards vegans, which can cause them to insult and challenge them, or even aggressively eat meat in front of them. Meat is seen as a masculine food. It's marketed towards men, and is seen as a source of strength and power. People associate muscular and toned bodies, the idealized male one, with meat. It's treated as something you have to eat, to be a real man. When men feel insecure in their masculinity, they tend to show themselves eating more meat to compensate. Vegan men are seen as a rejection of masculinity, weak and feminine. Men who see being masculine as a key part of their identity can see them as a threat, especially if they derive self-worth from their masculine identity. This leads to them attacking vegan men to feel better about themselves. I love food from many different cultures. I grew up in Singapore, so I'm lucky enough to be exposed to many of them. Food is deeply connected to the cultures they come from, and are a key part of them. Our cultural identity affects how we choose foods. People usually pick foods associated with their own culture. It keeps us connected to our culture and lets us share something in common. Food is also what makes our holidays and festivals extra special, from Christmas turkey to 中秋节月饼. Many of these treasured dishes have meat in them. Vegans are seen as having rejected their roots and are accused of being westernized. This creates tension between families and separates them from their communities. Vegans outside the community can even be seen as hating the culture for refusing to eat dishes with meat. Right-wing authoritarianism, or RWA, is a metric of several traits: cultural traditionalism, submissiveness to authority, and aggressiveness towards cultural norm violators. The current cultural norms involve meat eating, with gradual increasing acceptance of vegans. The increasing acceptance threatens the current norms around how we treat animals. It also questions meat-centric culinary traditions, which are seen as a key part of numerous cultures. People of high RWA are afraid of changing norms, something which vegans are trying to bring about. They also feel offended by vegans refusing to defer to their culture. This perceived threat leads to them attacking vegans, phrased as defending cultural norms against radical change. Social dominance orientation, or SDO, is another metric of several traits. It refers to a desire for an unequal hierarchy between groups, one where their own in-group is superior and dominant. People of higher SDO tend to believe more strongly in dominion over animals, and that humans are both distinct and superior to them. Exploiting animals symbolizes a control over them, and is used to legitimize human supremacy over animals. As in, we deserve meat because we are superior to animals, something we prove by being able to domesticate and exploit them en masse. Vegans gaining acceptability is a threat to the idea that exploiting animals is justified. This is seen as a direct attack on their worldview. And by refusing to eat meat, vegans are challenging the dominant group's norms. This is seen as a challenge that has to be defeated to maintain their dominant hierarchical position. When unquestioned, most people believe that farm animals are well treated, given sufficient space, tasty food, and regular checkups. The animal welfare is improving over time, with factory farms becoming increasingly unpopular. It's nice to feel like things are getting better. Unfortunately, factory farms are the mass majority of farms, both in the US and EU. Non-factory farms are also intensifying, gradually increasing the percentage of factory farms. The meat industry uses advertising of animals in free open paddocks, living a safe and content life. It gives the image that this is normal, and factory farms are a minority, letting people buy meat guilt-free. We like to believe that the products we personally buy come from humanely treated animals. Many of us even go out of our way to ignore information about how meat is made. It's painful to feel like we're contributing to animal suffering. Knowing about farming hurt, and many people around me didn't want to believe it. They saw vegans as the ones causing that pain by releasing information about the meat industry. It caused resentment for making meat harder to eat. Animal rights activists are the ones exposing the cruelty of the farming industry. They are the ones that exposed factory farming in the first place. They are reported in media as militant vegan groups, regardless if they're vegan or not. This made people associate vegans with the exposés. We love animals. From cats to capybara. I know I'm not the only one watching videos of them doing the silliest things. How can we love animals while hurting them by eating meat? That's the meat paradox. This contradiction can cause severe discomfort, called dissonance. Dissonance can show as shame, guilt, or regret. We use a number of defense mechanisms to make the meat paradox less painful for us. If we don't think about animals while buying meat, there's no dissonance. Meat is processed to look nothing like the animal, and renamed to avoid reminding us. Factory farms are isolated, far from sight, and it's hard to find reliable information on them. Whistleblowers are suppressed with ag-gag laws, and even the media struggles to contact them. This makes it easy for us to avoid thinking about animals while buying meat, reducing dissonance. Adding on, it's quite easy to overlook meat while eating it. Meals are habitual, meaning we don't actively think during them. Additionally, meat is socially acceptable, with most people around us eating it. Since it's normal, we don't question it. By refusing to eat meat, vegans are an active reminder of the reasons to avoid meat. This makes it harder to uncritically eat meat, returning dissonance. People tend to mentally categorize animals. Dogs are companions, whales are wildlife, and cows are food. Sorting animals changes how people see them. Classifying animals as food makes us see them as less intelligent and less capable of pain. This lowers people's empathy towards animals, letting them eat meat without guilt. Vegans tend to categorize animals less, seeing animals as having deep emotional lives and very much capable of suffering. This reminds people that animals in the meat industry are not only capable of suffering, they are suffering. To feel dissonance, we must feel like we were personally responsible for our actions. And for that, we must feel like we had a chance to choose, and weren't forced into doing something we did. People justify eating meat, removing dissonance, by feeling like they had no choice. A common assumption is that meat is necessary for health. If meat is essential, then there's no other option than to eat meat. By remaining healthy without meat, healthy vegans weaken their justification. Another justification is the pressure of social norms. Eating meat is a social norm, something we are pressured to follow. Breaking social norms results in us being shamed, with the possibility of losing friends, or even family. Social norms let people justify various actions, and by not following them, vegans indirectly question their validity. This weakens using them as a justification. In response to it, people might try to discredit vegans. By making their beliefs seem less valid, they cause less dissonance. This can result in belittling or hyper-focusing on the flaws of individual vegans. Another response is doubling down, ignoring any new information, and trying to actively avoid vegans. Vegan communities are just like any other, made out of many different kinds of people. The vast majority of vegans are health vegans, with animal ethics and environmental vegans making up the remainder. They are divided between criticizing self-centric vegans and accepting anyone who wants to reduce their meat consumption. Health vegans are seen as self-interested and unlikely to fully commit to veganism long-term. As the majority, most vegan products are marketed towards and designed for health vegans. This results in cutting out the animal rights aspect and focusing on the health benefits. Health vegans also have significantly more societal acceptance than other kinds of vegans. This can create resentment towards health vegans, which can manifest as infighting. The divide makes vegans appear disagreeable and unaccepting. Personally speaking, I think vegan communities need to be as accepting as possible. Any reduction in meat consumption is still saving animals, and that should be encouraged. A strong, welcoming community will help people maintain their diet, or even further reduce. They need encouragement and support to know they are not alone. From 2011 onwards, there was a shift in the media coverage of vegans. While the number of articles portraying vegans as malnourished eco-terrorists stayed the same, newspapers started heavily reporting on celebrities using vegan diets for weight loss. They credited vegan diets as a source of beauty and fitness, useful for maintaining a lean and muscular body. It quickly became characterized as fashionable. Luxury brands started producing ludicrously expensive clothing designed entirely for celebrities. Articles were written on celebrity visits to exclusive vegan restaurants and health spas, focusing on their fashion and lifestyle. Veganism was now seen as a celebrity trend, something that would come and go. It didn't help that many of the celebrities following the trend didn't last as vegans. They went back to meat after months, or even weeks. The opulent products and meals chosen by celebrities gave off an image that veganism was for the elite, expensive and shallow. The short-term nature of the diets, along with an emphasis on weight loss, showed an impossible long-term diet done entirely for personal beauty. This warped the perception of vegans, who are now often seen as elitist, wealthy and self-obsessed. Veganism is often shown as a diet for excessive weight loss that cannot be maintained long-term. When it comes down to it, we just want to feel okay. We want to feel like we're good people, who are doing the right thing. The meat industry has taken advantage of that, reassuring and comforting us, while being endlessly cruel to animals. It's painful to think that we could have contributed to animal suffering. Unfortunately, wanting things to improve means actively confronting that pain and trying our best to improve things. Taking our anger out on vegans won't change the meat industry. I do sincerely believe many of us want the same thing, for animal welfare to improve, and that should bring us together. Thank you for listening to my video. I appreciate you sticking with me. If you learned something and would like to help spread my video, please like, comment or sub. It lets YouTube know my video is pretty good stuff and makes it spread it around more.